And a very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us at the end of your day. I know that we're in between yourself, your work day and dinner, so we will make it up to you. It is such an honour to be moderating this event with three very impressive and accomplished leaders in tech, who I will introduce you shortly. But before I do that, we have a couple of polls to just get a sense of who you are and where you've come from. And we'd really like today's session to be as interactive as possible. So if I can ask Camilla if you can launch the first poll. The first poll question is, which state are you coming from?
So we have New South Wales, 33%, Victoria 45%, Queensland 3%, WA 8%, and South Australia 13%.
Fantastic. Great to have a diverse audience. Fantastic. And also I'm speaking to all of you from Victoria, from lockdown state. So for those fellow Victorians, I feel your pain. So let's have a bit of fun today. Fantastic. Okay, so the second question is an open text question. So Camilla, if you don't mind putting up the slide. So if you guys can see at the bottom of your Zoom panel, there's a chat box there. If you guys can just click on that chat and answer the question, that would be great. Okay, so the question is, what's the first thing you will do when the pandemic is over? So if you just write your answers, travel, get a haircut. I really need a haircut too. My fringe is getting way too long. Travel to Europe, meet my family. Oh, I know it's really tough for those who are in lockdown and not being able to see your family. So absolutely empathize with that. Overseas trip, meet friends, go to a restaurant, a long drive, yes. We are confined to a 5-kilometre radius in Victoria, so even a long drive, we'll take it. That's a bit of a holiday. Book travel to see grandparents. Hugs and kisses, yeah. Go to the beach, fantastic. Awesome, all very great things. Go to festivals, yeah. I think festivals are going to look quite different in the future, less kind of body-to-body, jam-packed type action. Fantastic, thank you all for responding, that's so great. So with the chat function, please keep it going. Feel free to join in on the conversation, ask any questions throughout the event. We'd really love to hear from you and make this as interactive as possible, as I said before. And so the final question we have is a poll again. So Camilla, if you don't mind launching it. So this poll question is really for anyone in the audience who identifies themselves as a woman in tech. I know that looking at the registration list, there's many of you have joined us from tech companies. So if you're working in a tech company, that's you. And the question is, what is your biggest challenge as a woman in tech? We'd love to know. So the highest is having no female role models, which is not a surprise. And then followed by being taken seriously. Gender pay gap and the glass ceiling is fairly equal. Lack of diversity within the company, and 12% cite no challenges. So great, okay. That's very good background for our panelists. And in fact, we've got three amazing role models right here, right now, that you guys can connect with on LinkedIn and follow on social media. So without further ado, I will introduce our amazing speakers. So if I could ask our speakers to just give a quick introduction on what you do and how you got there, that would be great. So first of all, we have Regina Sujanthran from Ericsson, Australia. So welcome, Regina.
Thanks, Joanne. So I started as an engineering graduate in Ericsson 21 years ago. So I did that for the first 8 years of my career. And I traveled the world with work, deploying solutions for customers. It was an amazing experience. And that's one of the advantages of working for an international company like Ericsson. But in 2007, I came to a juncture in my career where two things happened. First of all, I sort of looked at myself and where I was heading with my career, and I realized that I was never going to be a technical, in-depth person. So I decided to change my role. The second thing that happened was a personal situation. I had my first child, and as a result, I couldn't travel anymore for work. And I decided that's also a good time to look for other opportunities. So I moved into management. I tried a few things, eventually settled on project management, and then now program director role within Ericsson for IoT, Internet of Things.
Fantastic. Thank you, Regina. And you're based in Melbourne as well.
Melbourne, that's correct.
Fantastic. Okay. And secondly, our second speaker is Brith Isaksson from ABB. And Brith has graciously joined us at 7 o'clock in the morning, but she joined earlier than that, actually, calling from Västerås, west of Stockholm. So welcome, Brith.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joanne, and hello, everyone. So a short introduction of myself. After uni, I started work shortly at the dairy plant, and after that, I moved to ABB. So I've been more than 30 years with ABB. Similar to Regina, I mean, it's of course a big international company that's given me a lot of opportunities to also travel, and now in my role, which is global, I work with more than 50 countries around the world, and I find it very inspiring to work with colleagues everywhere. But I mean, what took me here was like 20 years in research and in various topics, everything from automation to robotics. And then I also made a sharp turn in 2009, actually, where I started to work with our service unit. I find that very, very interesting. And I also, of course, learned a lot from that. Moved forward to the domestic sales. And since 2015, I'm in let's say, global roles. First as sales manager for control systems, and then now with working as segment manager for food and beverage. So yeah, that's shortly about me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brith. How many countries do you think you've traveled to in your entire career?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, maybe not all 50, but I guess at least, 40 by now, maybe.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? It's great that your career has taken you all around the world. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very interesting to learn how we are operating in different cultures and so on, definitely. But many things is the same.
Yeah, for sure. And then our third speaker is Anna Nordell Westling, also joining us from Stockholm early in your morning as well. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Yes, morning is not my best time, but I'll try to do my best morning today. But very excited to be joining the panel and for the discussion today as well. So I'm Anna, and I'm the CMO and co-founder of Sana Labs. And Sana Labs is an AI company. And we're actually now, I'm very proud, we're the global leader in efficient upskilling and reskilling of the workforce. I was part of founding Sana Labs 4 years ago. And why did we found Sana Labs? We wanted to bring the benefits of AI into workforce learning and make sure that employees really could be kept trained and compliant and have the necessary competences ready. And we saw that we could be able to do that in half the time, and also make sure that the employees remember the knowledge 3 times longer by addressing individual knowledge gaps. So that's my true passion right now, besides of running my family. And previously to Sana Labs, I ran my own marketing acceleration agency for 5 years, and working with fast growing tech companies in Stockholm and Berlin, London, San Francisco, as well as in Kuala Lumpur. And that was quite interesting as well, because I realized that there's quite tight and small ecosystems and communities within startups and fast-growing tech companies. So I started working and helping one of these companies, and all of a sudden the word spread, and it was quite interesting to see how the ecosystem worked. And why did I fund my own company at this stage? Again, it was the fact that we got our first child. I have 3 daughters at this point, and as well as one of the previous clients that I've been working with at a communication agency, who was then the group CEO of one of Sweden's largest companies. She said, I think you should start your own business, and I will make sure that you get our account. So that was also very much in terms of, as the poll showed, role models and networking, which I will get back to. And I think it's core pillars in terms of, thriving women within their careers and in business. And to close the circle, why am I then, how did I end up back at, and then I also spent, I think 8 years previously to starting my own company, working with communication agencies, running brand strategy and consumer insights at agencies like Saatchi & Saatchi and King and Acne. But to close the loop, how did I end up back where I am today? First, I'm super passionate about how can we really solve education. It is a meta problem, and it has enormous effects on the individual as well as the organizations as well as society at large. So I want to say goodbye to one size fits all and really focus on the individual learning. Secondly, I'm super passionate about running a company where we can actually drive and combine true value with building a thriving business. So value for me is super important to go to work every day and spend all those extra hours to build true value into this world. And third, then I will shut up. One of my great peers, Sophia Benz, who also happens to be a woman, she introduced me to Joel that I co-founded Sana Labs with. So I think, the networking is key. It's really powerful.
Fantastic. Lots of things to unpack there, Anna. So we will definitely get to them. So I'm making mental notes. What I wanted to kick off as the first question for you, Regina, is really reflecting on the challenges that women in tech face, and reflecting from the results from the poll that we've had just then. Despite national conversations about gender diversity in tech, women are still underrepresented, underpaid, and often discriminated within the tech industry, whether or not it's conscious or unconscious. And that is the hard truths. So interested in your perspective, Regina, in terms of the challenges that women in tech face. Are they surprising to you? Have you faced similar challenges in your career?
Yeah, no, I've got to agree with the polls actually, because I answered this question myself and I had the similar answers. So the first one being is that having no female role models. But then I also think, is it because does it start back from, when we're at uni? I went to uni with 10 females and 100 males in an engineering course. So we're not having enough females coming out of university with the technical background, right? So I think that's definitely a factor in order to grow within an organization, you need to get the juniors in first and then grow. So I definitely faced that. I definitely didn't have many female role models. I think it's improving a little bit, but the ones I did have, I thought they were fantastic, and I learned so much from them, and I could relate a little bit more. And it also gave me a little bit more courage to take on new things and new challenges. So definitely that's the biggest one for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think the role model side of things, I read an article where 91% of the most followed tech and STEM people on Twitter are males, and only 9%, are females, which is really quite a striking thing, really, because if there's not enough public visibility, particularly in the media and in social media, of role models of women in tech, then how are we supposed to, how are women and girls supposed to think that there's a career in that? A question to Brith and Anna: how do we resolve that? What are some of the things that you've seen that has worked in terms of really increasing the number of female role models?
Brith,
Well,
you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I think it's important to look at things from different angles. And obviously, as Anna mentioned before, I mean, a lot of networking is very important. I think that also important that women that is in leading positions, that they also share, that we really have a sharing part. I personally been starting up some programs to grow, let's say, from first line managers up to the second line and third line and so on. I think it's very important to see different angles to this. Everything from starting back in high school to get more people in there, but then of course also to really make see people that can act as role models and become more visible from a company perspective, but of course also as a private person. So I think it is, we should do a lot of different things. I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, you mentioned a really good term before. You said there's no such thing as one size fits all in terms of education. But I think the same can be said, that there's no one size fits all in terms of, I guess, the stereotype or the view of what a leader in tech looks like. So, what's your perspective on that? How do we kind of change that stereotype?
Yeah, so I think building on what Brith and Regina said, I think it's we should not underestimate the power in, and Joanne, you spoke about that as well, in terms of just, getting out there. And for example, if you as a woman get an opportunity and get asked to, or not as a woman, but if you get the opportunity or get asked to speak on stage about what you do or the company, this that we are doing today, get the opportunity to be in a panel, to be on a board, just speaking opportunities in general, as well as things that further your career. And what I experience is a lot of times women tend to say no in a larger extent than men to these kind of opportunities. And what I try to do, I mean, we are all very busy, and we try to run families and companies and all of these things at the same time. And we need to prioritize in an extreme way. But what I have found, and what I try to do, and we openly speak about this within my community and my peers, that always pass this on to another female. And I think that's something that we all could start doing on a bigger scale, just to make sure that it's not only then a lot of men communicating on Twitter, or if it's a conference or whatever it is, that we get a more diverse mix in there. So I always try to then pass the word on and recommend another excellent female to speak at that event, or to interview for board seat, or what it can be. So I think that's something that if we all could do that, that would help a lot as well.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I on the side, I coach speakers for TEDx Melbourne, and often when we ask men to speak, it's like, yeah, of course, I don't know why you didn't ask me yesterday. But for women, it just takes a lot more convincing to actually say, you deserve to be on the stage and we want to hear from you. So, back to you, Regina. I know that in some of the discussions that we've spoken about, and someone's mentioned, the lack of confidence and imposter syndrome, which are all very good points. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome in your career, and do you still experience it?
Yeah, definitely. So especially earlier on in my career as a project manager, I used to, even though I've proven that I can deliver successfully, you know, I've got fantastic customer reviews. Every new project that I take on, I'm always scared. You know, do I really want to take that up? You know, would I be able to do it? Would I be able to deliver it? But then, you know, nowadays I try and talk to myself, you know, I've done all of this, I can do it. So my experience is helping me a little bit now. And we have programs within Ericsson which sort of encourages females in leadership, which also helps me to gain my confidence to speak up and take on new opportunities.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, the turning point in your career? Because I think you did experience quite significant imposter syndrome, but then, you know, it was just such an important turning point for you that's really led to your career success. So can you talk a little bit more of that?
Yeah, so I think every project I used to be very scared because it's a new customer, new ways of working, new products. Do I know how to do it? And you know, over the years, even now when I take on new challenges, I do question, but then I say, oh, I've shown that I can do it. I think it's only really been in the last 2 to 3 years that I've really gained that confidence. So, you know, it's taken me over 15 years to try and get that confidence to do it. Even, you know, speaking at this event, putting my hand up is an example where you had to gain that confidence to do it. It wasn't easy, but I just have to keep talking to myself, and the programs within Ericsson do help in terms of you know, giving me the opportunities to do these things.
Yeah, for sure. There's some really good chatter in the audience, so thank you everyone for getting involved. So someone has said that you know, on top of the imposter syndrome, part of it that really feeds it is kind of the fear that the audience won't listen, particularly when the audience is male dominated. So Brith, you've worked and built your career in a very male dominated industry and company. How have you I guess, address that? How have you sort of found a voice for yourself?
Well, I think, you know, maybe I've been lucky, but I never faced that, you know, or I never felt that I have been, you know, looked at because I am a woman, that there would be something that, you know, would not be as good. So on the opposite, I would say I've found a lot of you know, interest and when you speak, being maybe, you know, in most cases the only female, you know, people tend to listen and people tend to remember you. So I've always used that in a positive way. But I mean, of course, there are moments when you had some comments. I remember when I started one of my management positions, I don't think that was for me as a female, but you know, I had a comment from a person that was supposed to report to me, and he was saying, yeah, and what do you think you can add in this organization? And then I was like feeling that, oh, you will see. Right? So I think it's important to really, you know, see what you can learn from others, but obviously also that you want to see that as kind of things as a challenge and take that on. That's important for me, at least. That's a driver for myself. To perform better, and of course, yeah, to work very close with teams. And you know, coming back to that, I mentioned that when he retired a few years later, I mentioned that actually to him, and he's like, oh, did I say that? Oh no, how horrible is that? Anyway,
yeah. Excellent. Regina, you've got something to add to
Yeah,
that?
no, it's just I had similar experiences. I don't know if it's because I'm a female, but I had similar experiences where I was taken off a project delivery because after 2 weeks of joining, because they felt that I didn't have the competence to deliver. Luckily for me, at the same time on the same program, we had another delivery, and I was assigned for that. And I actually could prove that I could do it. And in the end, at the end of that program, I remember because my project delivery was called out at every customer governance as one of a good example of a delivery. That particular person who stood me aside actually came and congratulated me because I was the only one who was named by the customer. So I concur with what Brith had to say.
Yeah, for sure. Someone has made a point to say it's interesting how we remember the sort of comments that we perceive as negative, whereas the person who actually gives the comment doesn't remember it at all. So I think it just goes to show also just the support that we get from our colleagues and our peers is just so critical, because they all really add to the encouragement and the boost that we have as leaders in our fields to continue to succeed. Yeah. Anna, keen to explore a little bit about, I guess, your perspective, because, you know, obviously ABB and Ericsson are both very old companies, so they're sort of century-old startups, whereas you founded a 4-year-old startup. So it's kind of, you know, comparing a very, very old grandpa that has lived, or grandma, I should say, to a 4-year-old baby. So I imagine that the median age of your engineers and workforce would be quite young. What's the median age of your workforce?
Yes, so it's 28. So it's quite young, and we are a company that's now we are 40% women and 60% men. So we are definitely, I mean, top management. We have identified this as one of our key things that we want to have a 50-50 gender diversity at the company. But it is a struggle because, as we mentioned early on, there are not as many female graduates from the universities, from technical programs. So I mean, I meet great talent every day from top universities from all over the world, actually. And they inspire me more than anything. But what I would love to see is even more women coming out of the technical programs, of course. But I think also another point to make there is, I mean, just looking at myself, I am the least technical person in our company, and I have a marketing background. So I think it's also important that we don't limit ourselves, because it's only us that would limit ourselves. So really, the sky is the limit. And I think working in tech, as I also persuaded a career before that was non-technical in a way, I think working in tech is amazing in so many ways, and we can truly create things and shape the future. And we need to be men and women shaping this future. So I think for those who listen as well, if you don't have a background in tech, nothing is going to stop you, because you're desperately needed in both Sana Labs and ABB and Ericsson. And you will be working sometimes with deep tech, but there will be no problem. You will do it in an excellent way, and bringing other types of experience and talent to the table that's desperately needed as well.
Definitely. So Anna, do you think the problem's generational? Because, you know, sometimes I worked at a startup before coming to ABB, and, you know, it was a very similar sort of median age to your workforce. And I didn't really feel as many sort of gender or sort of equality differences in that organization. So do you think the problem with diversity is actually generational, and actually the new breed of engineers are, you know, men and women are, I guess, equally as capable and confident?
I think looking at our team, I would say yes. I think so. and that we, I mean, both men and women in our team want to work with men and women. So it's very much driven internally that we want to be 50-50. So I think, yeah, I think in terms of younger generations that it's not as much of a question, it's the way it should be, which I think is great. And we also see, I mean, now I actually looked at KTH, which is like the main provider of tech talent, the university in Stockholm, and today there's actually 30% of graduates that are female. So I think also that we see a positive trend in terms of both more female moving into tech, as well as in terms of the mindset of younger generations, that it's the way it should be. We should be looking out for each other and in terms of diversity. And I think also I think we experienced the same thing at ABB and Ericsson and Sana Labs, that we are extremely diverse groups today we're 30 people at Sana Labs, but we have already now 11 different nationalities present. And I mean, we're a very diverse group. So I think, younger generations are very used to that and they want it.
Yeah, that's great. That's really promising. What advice would you, Regina, give to your 21-year-old self? Speaking of the youth.
Yeah, so all throughout my career, this has been said to me, but only recently I've sort of said, oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. And this is taking all the opportunities or risks, if you want to look at it that way, that come your way. And there have been plenty. I just haven't taken them until much later in my career. But yes, definitely take all the opportunities. Like, for example, when I first started with Ericsson, I had an opportunity to go to Sweden and work there. And I think if I took that opportunity, I didn't do it because I felt I wasn't ready. Did I want to go overseas, away from my family, etc. But I think if I had taken that opportunity, where I am now, I would have been there probably 5 to 10 years earlier. So definitely take your opportunities. And at 21, the sky's the limit, right? So
at 21, at 31, at 41, at 51, the sky's the limit. I hope so anyway, because I'm far from 21 now.
Well, at 21, you don't have a family or a partner, or
Definitely.
You might have, but not always, right? So
yeah.
So I think that's what I meant.
Definitely, yeah. What about yourself, Brith? What advice would you give to your 21-year-old self?
Yeah, I think be open, which is similar to what Regina says. Take time to reflect and don't overanalyze. I think we as women has a tendency to overanalyze. I mean, coming back to someone said that, what does that person actually mean by that, and so on. I think that's one thing. I think another thing is that, at least myself, when I was very young, I was a bit maybe rebellic. Tended to see everything as black and white, and over time I realized that there is a lot of gray shades on this as well. So I think to stay open, be positive, and take whatever you feel like this is a great thing to do. Also, one other thing, I never look back. I think that's important. I mean, a decision is a decision, and then you are where you are, and you can take it from there. But it's better to take a decision rather than thinking that, okay, well, if I do that and do that. I mean, I think it's better to take the opportunities as they go, but always to try to deliver your utmost in the role where you are now. I also see in a lot of people that, I mean, the career itself is more important than to building the platform and build up your backpack, so to say. I think it's the opportunities, they come. You should take them when they come, but don't think that you can, jump over 3-4 steps. Yeah, that's maybe some of my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you. There's a question from the audience from Matt. Any one of you are welcome to take it. So the question is, what factors in tertiary and secondary education has been identified as being partially responsible for the imbalance?
I'll have a go. I think they are looking at this already. Like I know definitely in my daughter's school, they are encouraging the females into the science and maths fields, and I think that's where it starts. So you need to encourage, and I think when I was doing maths, physics at school, I was one of 2 females who were doing it, and that's definitely changed. I know maths and science is my daughter's favorite subject. So, and she has all of her friends also doing the same thing. So, in terms of tertiary and secondary, it is improving, I think, and that's probably goes back to what Anna was saying, that the gender generational gap. Probably now it's a bit more acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's it's a really good point in terms of the number of girls who are doing this sort of STEM subjects, and I think one thing that I wanted to sort of bring up from my conversation with Brith was just a reflection of Brith, your visit to the Barbie factory in Jakarta, which I wanted to bring up. So, can you reflect a little bit about that? And I guess the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, Barbies, putting my hand up, I played with a lot of Barbies as a kid. So that was really, I guess the role model to a certain extent of what I saw as what society deemed to be, the perfect female. So can you talk a little bit about your visit to the Barbie factory?
Yeah, sure. No, I think that's, when I first came there, I thought that, coming back also, I played with Barbie dolls when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, if I would have known about that, I will end up in this factory. That would be amazing, right? But I think it's, well, taking that as an example to see how, with knowledge, competence, and everything, what you can do in terms of production, in terms of automation, but still, you cannot replace everything. So one of the things, was, like all these women were sitting in front of their sewing machines, and they were doing these tiny clothes for the Barbies. Super, let's say, really handcraft. At the same time, they were chatting a lot. They, they were doing this. Really, no, without any extra attention to it, and I think it's quite interesting to see also how technology takes into that. But personally, I think also, I haven't looked at Barbie dolls for a long time, to be honest, but what we talked about is that also this has developed the concept, so you find not just the perfect skinny type with this fantastic clothes, so you can find it with all kinds of directions, with colors, with everything, and I think that's also important to understand the different angles to things like that. So yeah, I found it very, very interesting from all aspects to visit in that factory. Actually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, very eye-opening. And you're right. I think the evolution of the brand has really shown an evolution of society in terms of, there is no stereotype. And in fact, the world is made up of diverse people of all shapes and sizes and colors, for sure. Yeah. So we're getting some really great questions from the audience. So I'm going to start asking the questions and hopefully we can cover them. So a question from Felicia. What are the educational elements that you have used the most or that has been particularly valuable to you in your career? If anyone would like to take that.
I think maybe one quick one from my side first. So, I mean, having a university education, well, myself, I have chemistry as a background. I haven't been using that much, but I think it gives you a certain platform to stand on, a certain way of approach things. And I think to have a good base education is very important, but that doesn't mean that you have to stick to that subject for the rest of your career. I think it will be, yeah, as a platform.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Regina?
I'll agree with Brith on that one. I haven't used a lot of what I learned at university, but it did give me a platform. Having said that, I have met quite a few people who've, you know, joined Ericsson as early on before they even went to university, and they've done really well for themselves as well. So I think it's up to the individuals as well where they take their career.
Yeah. The next question is, that's a good segue to the next question. And I think, Anna, it'd be great, given you said before you're not a very technical person. So Nicola has asked, what about women in non-tech roles within the tech field? She's in law and there are more female law students, graduate lawyers, but in a tech company, you still feel the lack of diversity. Hiring decisions are still inherently biased. So what's your advice for women who are in non-tech roles, who want to succeed in tech companies?
Yeah, great question, by the way. I think taking law then as an example, one of our now investors, but a very interesting person, her name is Petra Hansson. She used to run the legal processes early on for Spotify and actually making it happen for them to sign those contracts with the music industry, which for me is basically the core value in the Spotify product, right? So what she did, I mean, legal parts and law in terms of building a new company is completely at the core of what we are building. So I think law will always be interesting. And if you want to pursue a career in fast growing companies or tech, it's an excellent decision. And I think you should not be, yeah, it's more, see it more as an opportunity. And what I would encourage anyone to do is more think about, okay, what are the type of sector that I want to work in, or what is my passion? Perhaps law is your tool, but what kind of value do you want to create? And if you are to spend, we are actually spending 1/3 of our lives working, even people even spend more, but on average. So I think it's more about thinking about what's your true passion, what value do you want to bring day to day and over time, and then just take your maybe, yeah, your discipline or the talent that you have developed and yeah, put it into that sector or the value you want to push.
Yeah, for sure. That's really good advice. So there's quite a number of men who have joined this event, which is really great to see. And I went on a bit of a, I guess, rant on LinkedIn because initially when I posted this event, I only had my female connections kind of, you know, engaging with it. And so it's really great to see that, you know, men have joined as well, because a Women in Tech event or any event about promoting diversity and equality should never be isolated to just, you know, a single group. So my advice to my question to the three of you is, for the men who are in the audience, what is your advice to them to help, you know, progress towards greater gender equality in the workforce? Regina, can we start with you?
For me, what would have helped is if I felt safe in taking any risks that I take. So if there are males in a position where they can support a female to grow in that organisation, you know, it's it's even as simple as just having a chat with them and saying, look, you know, take the opportunity, but it doesn't mean it's, you know, be all and end all. So definitely you should like encourage them to take it, and then show them that, you know, you've got nothing to lose. I hope that I can see a little bit more of that. And then the other thing I'd like to see more of is females being sponsored more. So I read an article recently about how females are over mentored and under sponsored, and I feel that that's true in the case of females. There is a lot of mentoring going on, but not a lot of people are speaking up for the females, and I hope that they will do that. Even in it's just a matter of saying, look, there is this person who's interested in moving into this role. Can we help them, or can we give them a chance to have a go at this at these opportunities?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, there's so much mentoring can do in terms of being a sounding board, but actively playing a role in supporting a woman in her career is just, you know, it does great lengths at really helping her. And I know that even through my work, you know, it's often when we ask who would you put forward for this opportunity or for this event, invariably it's always a man that they put forward, and you have to really probe before they say, oh, actually, yes, there is a woman in my team. So it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be more active. So
Yeah.
agree.
And one of my first opportunities actually is because someone sponsored me, because I was quite new to project management, and when they spoke up for me and said, look, I think she'll do a good job, and they took me on for that delivery towards a Telstra 4G delivery, it was like, you know, the door had been opened, and I had so much opportunities as a result of that. So I hope that more men will speak up for the women.
Yeah, and that's such an amazing project to lead, Telstra 4G. Yes. So fantastic. It's so good. Brith, what's your thoughts? What advice have you got for the men in the audience?
I think it is important with the sponsorship, as Regina mentioned. I think one other thing, I must say I'm not for gender quota and things like this, but I do think that everyone can do a better work when we have a certain position to fill, to make sure we have female candidates. And I think one thing is, you know, the culture are different in different countries and companies, but always to post positions, because, you know, often I feel that management positions, they are maybe, you know, taken by the person's, you know, colleague, someone been working with for a long time and so on. I think, you know, being more open on these things are very, very important. And I also believe that, you know, you don't need to be a formal mentor to say a lot of good things. I mean, personally, I mean, I probably used a lot of men as informal mentors without they even knowing it, because they have been saying a lot of wise words every now and then, and you sort of, you know, you have someone there to trust that you feel is saying a lot of good things, and just, you know, to keep that and being open-minded. I think for me that's very important.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, what about yourself?
No, I agree very much with and and also with Regina, but I think also on top of that, it truly helps as well to really identify as an organization that this is something that we are working actively with, in terms of that we want to put female and male candidates forward, and also in terms of really senior leaders, as you said, Brith and Regina, that they step up and in the front line are inspiring and engaging and supporting top talent to help them grow into leadership roles. And I think, if you have from top management a very clear initiative that it's communicated that gender diversity is top priority, then it's easier also for everyone working in the organization to really take that on.
Yeah, for sure. We had a question from our pre-survey, and I'm keen to ask it because it's always good when people ask questions before the event. So this question's from Aurora. So have you ever felt like you were expected to set your feminine characteristics aside and act more like a man to be successful? And how have you dealt with that? Who would like to take that?
I can take it. I think
please.
it's more of a super force to be a woman, actually. So I haven't felt that. And I think that we should all really, much like Brith said, a lot of times I'm unfortunately the only woman in the room, and that's kind of my superpower. Just, by being different, whatever it is, you stand out and you get your voice heard. That's what I experience, and you could really use it to amplify your opinions and get push the decision in the room in the right way.
For sure. So we've got a few other questions, but I'm not sure we have time to answer it, but let me try to power through. So this is a lightning round. Where does age fit into diversity? Tech companies seem to be mostly hiring young male graduates over an experienced tech female in their 40s and 50s.
Well, I can answer for ABB perspective. I mean, if we look at the trainee program we're running, we're always going 50-50. We have a lot of, let's say, mentoring program also for female at the university stage, and I think that at least what I've seen, I mean, now we have put up a target. I mean, coming back to what Anna said, I mean, in ABB that we should have go from 12.5% to 25% female in management positions. So I think it's good to have targets, or I think that's necessary to have targets even. But I would say that you have to work from different angles with this, coming back to that. I mean, I would say that the biggest problem I've seen is we have a lot of females on first line of management, but the problem is then to take that to the second or the third line. It seems to be like that various forces that are you get a bit stuck in a way, and of course there is not one reason for that, but I mean, I really think that you should work very, very hard to remove that portion.
Yeah, for sure. So we are coming to the end of our event, so we need to wrap up very soon. And thank you all for such an engaging discussion, and thank you to the audience as well. Just very quickly, the final question for each of you is: what is the one key takeaway that you want people to walk away from this event that they can personally do to really progress on making strides in greater equality in the workforce? Anna?
I think it depends on a bit maybe who you are and what role you are in. But I think in terms of if you are in management positions, I think you should actively walk away from today's session and feel that, okay, we need a target if we don't have a target in the organization, and we need to actively communicate that we want diversity in our company, so that it doesn't become stigmatized or difficult discussion within the organization. It's easier to then reach the target. And if you are a student, or if you are thinking that, okay, I don't know what I am going to end up working with, and I feel confused, and I want perhaps to work in tech, or maybe I don't, I think just go out there, and as Brith also mentioned, and Regina, just take those opportunities. And failing, I was very afraid of failing as my 21-year-old self, and failing, you need to look at that, I do now, as another opportunity or another experience that you got inside your body, and that would help you as you move along. So I think just take those opportunities and yeah, go on that path and you'll find your way. And yeah, don't be afraid of the opportunities. Take them and enjoy them.
Right. Brith?
Yeah, I think that I mean, very well said of Anna, but I think go where the passion takes you, because you will always do a much better work if you are passionate about what you're doing. I mean, myself, I love going out to a factory, you know, and some of my friends will think, I mean, what's wrong with you, huh? So I think, you know, whatever you feel passionate about and networking, get your sponsors, be open for whatever direction you want to go in, and don't forget to reflect a little bit every now and then.
Cool. Regina?
Similar lines, really. So I definitely take all the opportunities that come your way. Your career is in your hands. It's not in anyone else. It's not in the company's hands. It's actually in your hands. So it's up to you where you want to take it and do what you want to do. So that's it from me.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much. And Camilla, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to everybody who joined this afternoon and morning in Europe. And thank you so much, Joanne, for brilliant moderating. Also to all the panelists, a big thank you. I know it's an early morning in Sweden for you guys. So thank you, Brith and Anna, and also to Regina in Melbourne. Finally, I'd like to thank John from our Melbourne chapter for hosting this event. And there will be more from Melbourne, I'm sure. We have a few events which I just wanted to highlight, which are in the pipeline. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly here. So our next event is on the 5th of November, which is going to be in person, but limited people due to the restrictions. And that's at our member Kaja Clothing's new showroom. And that's an after work event, and that's open up for all SAC members and young professional members as well. Then we work together with, as John mentioned in the beginning, we work together with the Swedish chambers in Asia Pacific. And on the 26th of November, we have a webinar with the management consultant firm Lynx Eye, where the founders will show us how companies that dare to explore bold ways to make a difference for people and society are the winners of tomorrow. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. The time is not announced yet, but keep an eye on our website for the more information. 3rd of December, we're doing also another smaller in-person event, and that's a golf day, and it's happening here in Sydney. And this is kind of a little preparation for a larger Nordic Open Golf Day, which is held first week in March with all the Nordic chambers. That's also in Sydney. We have a digital marketing course. The first session is launching today, but if you are still interested, there will be 4 more weeks of this course, and it's a 2-hour evening session. So just let us know if you're interested. We have a brilliant educator, John Ekman, who will take us through the digital landscape. We're also organizing experience sharing sessions, and the next one is going to happen in November, where we're going to talk about customer relationship management. This is also like a smaller group format, which has been proven very, very successful and appreciated amongst members and guests. We also are looking for more entries to our Swedish Business in Australia Awards, and it's not too late to register. You can do it on our website. And please follow our websites and follow our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and have a look at our website for up and coming events. And we also post our previous events there with summaries and links to the video recordings. And if you can, it would be fantastic if you've filled in the research, which is the little survey which will pop up when you end the webinar. Thank you so much, everybody, and we look forward to see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.